Welcome back to another episode of the Luscious Living podcast. I am so excited to talk about this conversation with you because it's something that comes up time and time again, week after week, about am I in perimenopause? What exactly is perimenopause? And I'm starting to notice my body shift. And there actually was a study released from the Stanford School of Medicine that really did show that we have these micro peaks of accelerated aging, which doesn't sound super fun, but I do want to highlight some really good, juicy parts to it. In our mid 40s and our mid 60s, where we notice our body changing the most. And so if we are not equipped with this information and really what to eat and what to do, maybe what supplements to take, what kinds of exercise to shift into, then we feel the aging, right? And so even myself, it is absolutely wild to look in the mirror or just notice the shifts and and also notice myself aging as well. And I am very, very much for embracing that and really going away from the fear, away from the upset of getting older, because it is a part of life, and I am actively working on having full acceptance into that. And with that comes knowing our bodies better, knowing what we need, knowing what we need to shift from our 20s, 30s to our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, beyond, right? So let's talk about what is perimenopause for those of you who are wanting more of a definition and more of something concrete to fall into there. And then we're going to go over some common symptoms, but most importantly, as always, this podcast episode is focused on solutions. It is going to be mostly nutrition focused and looking at what are some of those symptoms, such as hot flashes, mood changes, etc., and what are some nutrition focuses that we can look at. And one thing that's really important as well is I will be covering the Western versus Chinese medicine approach to perimenopause, because knowing both now, I do believe that both have such an important role, because without one or the other, I do find that we have some pretty big gaps, and how beautiful that we can actually bridge that on this episode. So getting into what perimenopause is, it is that transitional phase leading up to menopause, and it can happen to a woman in her late 30s to mid 40s, lasting several months to a decade, up until the time where you have at least 12 months where you do not have a period anymore. And then you have your 12 months, and that is when we go into menopause. And so, of course, that comes with declining levels of sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone, testosterone, etc. Really, those are the main ones. And so that is going to have different symptoms that come with it: physical, emotional, mental well-being. And the reason why I say etc. is typically we're not going to see a decrease in other hormones drastically. Of course, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone really lead the way, and that actually makes changes in other hormones, such as your thyroid hormone. So, common symptoms that can come with this is going to be irregular periods. A lot of women tell me that it feels like, they had a normal period before, a normal period blood, but it's heavy. And I'm just going to say it, it's like they feel like they're getting stabbed when they have their period at this point. And so you might be having very heavy cycles, and some women end up having lighter flow. You might notice that it's either more pink, for example, or you might notice it's darker or brighter red. Some women start to have hot flashes and night sweats as well, and this is due to declining estrogen levels, and that's something that I love to be able to address actually in my acupuncture student clinic. Mood changes, you don't need me to tell you that, but a lot of time that irritability, anxiety, depression, brain fog, and that brain fog also goes hand in hand with sleep disturbances as well. Insomnia, then we have vaginal dryness, decreased libido, but sometimes women have increased libido, and there is actually quite a few women who report increased libido as they go into menopause. weight gain or metabolic changes, especially around the abdomen, and that is also going to be something that I cover in another episode called Fat Loss Over 40, so I highly recommend listening to that. And then, and on top of this, most of the time you have aging parents, you might have children who have increased needs, and maybe you're running around driving kids to different classes and practices, and you have your parents to think about, and you have career stress, and it's a tough time. It is a tough time to be a woman in this day and age who shoulders so many responsibilities and is trying to maintain herself. And then, I think sometimes as women we can get bitter, and then there's that almost stereotypes of women in their 40s sometimes, because it's like, yeah, you're not sleeping. Maybe you feel dry. Maybe you feel bloated. You just feel uncomfortable. Don't feel like you know your own body anymore. So yeah, we're going to be, maybe a little bit more upset about certain things outside, right? A woman she just needs a break once in a while, just a little bit of pleasure or pampering. So with these tips, my goal is that you have some takeaways. So big thing is, if you are driving, maybe you can come back and listen to this, or if you are out for a walk, try to take a note of what are some key foods that you can increase. And you might say, okay, well, I already have omega-3s. Well, let's see, can we actually have more of a variety? Can we increase the dosage? And again, this is not medical advice. This is a very general podcast episode. I do recommend speaking to your doctor if they are knowledgeable about nutrition, working with someone like myself as well for really a personalized approach. But let's get into it. So big thing is, when it comes to Western nutrition and TCM, so traditional Chinese medicine, it is going to have a more comprehensive approach to perimenopause. So Western nutrition is going to focus on key nutrients and foods that support hormonal balance, adrenal health, metabolic function, versus traditional Chinese medicine provides a deeper understanding and in the terminology of yin, yang, qi, and blood. And it's actually, it makes things more complete, because you could have all of the omega-3s in the world, but then if you don't have, yin is that nourishing property, which omega-3s do provide that nourishment. So it actually works so beautifully together. And when I provide the examples, it will make a little bit more sense. And so together it will have more of a balanced, integrative strategy to help you through perimenopause as well. So we're going to be talking about key foods and nutrients for adrenal support, sleep, vaginal dryness, iron and blood building foods, mental and emotional wellness, and some lifestyle practices in there as well. So why does nutrition and lifestyle matter? When we look at perimenopause, a lot of women think it's something they have to overcome or endure, same with menopause, or even having a period. But that nutrition piece is going to be absolutely key for supporting your organ systems, okay? So it is possible to reduce symptoms, increase energy, maintain vitality through nutrition. So some key foods overall is going to be focusing on phytoestrogens. So these are going to be foods that help increase estrogen in your body as it starts to decrease, okay? And so just a little bit of an overview as well is that as we start to age, we start to then produce our sex hormones through the adrenal glands. And if the adrenal glands are busy working on cortisol, maintaining stress levels, trying to get through the day, well then it will always prioritize cortisol production over sex hormone production. And so this is another sub-reason why so many women in today's day and age have so many issues, because they have had such stressful lives and don't get to be in that parasympathetic state. And so all of a sudden now we're running on lower hormones, we're not eating the right foods, our livers are overburdened. So when we start to add phytoestrogenic foods, we actually support those healthy estrogen levels. So flax seeds is a big one. So you want to make sure that they are, you grind them at home because they can oxidize or go bad faster. If you are buying them pre-ground, if you do buy them pre-ground, also make sure that they are in the fridge and just smell them. They will smell rancid easily when you have this, when you smell it, and you definitely do not want to have rancid oils in your body. Soy, that's a controversial topic, but good quality organic soy does contain phytoestrogens and can help with hormone levels. Lentils is another one, and chickpeas. Then we have healthy fats, which are going to support hormone production as well. So these are avocados, nuts, seeds, olive oil, omega-3 rich foods, or fish, I should say. One big thing, if you are on a weight loss journey as well, you want to be mindful of this. And again, I do cover this in the Fat Loss Over 40, and I will link that podcast episode below. Then again, protein. Eggs, chicken, grass-fed beef, bison, beans, tempeh, tofu. These are all going to help stabilize blood sugar, so help with mood and prevent muscle loss, because we all start to lose muscle each year as well, unless we're actively working on building muscle mass. And that is a whole other topic of its own. Then we also look at antioxidant-rich foods. These are berries, dark leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables such as kale, cabbage, turnip, radishes, and magnesium-rich foods. These are pumpkin seeds, spinach, almonds, and they are going to help support relaxation, stress reduction. I do recommend supplementing in this case as well with a magnesium biglycinate. You can also do a lotion or an oil. You can do a drink. That is something that you can feel free to message me on and to get recommendations. Okay, so from a TCM perspective, we want to look at yin nourishing foods, and this is for dryness, for night sweats, for brain fog. And so black sesame seeds are excellent for this. Goji berries, seaweed, duck, bone broth is, again, fantastic. And then we have blood tonifying foods, which is in translation, iron-rich foods. Okay, so these are beets, dates, dark leafy greens, red meat, eggs, cherries, and molasses. So again, some of these foods are not foods that a lot of people eat frequently, except for maybe the red meat and the eggs. I know in the summer I eat way too many cherries myself. So then we have chi boosting foods, again for fatigue, so sweet potatoes, rice, oats, and legumes. And we also have some warming foods. This is going to support digestion and circulation. So this is ginger, cinnamon, turmeric, and warm soups. When we look at adrenal health, we really, really want to be focused on adrenal health here, because that is going to be the foundation of, again, where we produce our sex hormones. Excuse me. And so vitamin C rich foods are going to be key here. Vitamin C is going to come from ideally citrus fruits, lemons, limes, grapefruit. Be mindful of grapefruit if you are taking any medication. Bell peppers, strawberries. Again, these are all going to support adrenal function. And if you're looking at beauty, they also will help support collagen production as well. So make sure you prioritize this. Then B vitamins are also really important for adrenal health, coming from eggs and nutritional yeast, for example, and really a lot of vegetables will have B vitamins. And for some people, again, this is going to be very, very general, but ashwagandha, rhodiola can be really helpful, or holy basil, something that it's lovely. It's a tea, and that can actually be really, really calming as well. A food in TCM that's really, really good for kidney health in general is going to be black beans, walnuts, goji berries, bone broth, and kidney beans as well. And a big part of this is truly regulating the nervous system. Like I always like to say, is amplifying bliss. That has to be a part of the conversation. Because again, if you're running around, you have a stressful day at work, maybe the kids were stressful as well, and then maybe you have a pocket of time for yourself, and that's when we start to see either food or excess alcohol start to come into play, because it does relax you, it does have a place. But if we really want to have a renaissance with how we look and feel, then that's going to really involve a new habit, a new ritual. So that could look like having a cup of tea. Maybe you have some honey in it. Maybe if you haven't eaten and you need to still eat a snack plate, a girl dinner, maybe you have some cheese in there, maybe you have some fruit in there. So for example, if we're doing like an optimal snack plate, I would add in, again, if it works with medication, grapefruit or some oranges in there. Maybe you have some bell peppers, strawberries, dark chocolate, and some goji berries or walnuts, for example. Okay, but some other practices, truly, there's some beautiful 10-minute videos online: qigong, tai chi, meditation. Journaling is so big because it just gets everything out of your mind, out on paper in a non-judgmental space, and I really find it can be so helpful. Therapy, of course, as well. Now, for sleep support, part of this is, in Chinese medicine, it is essentially when there is not enough yin, so that nourishment, that fluid, that moisture in your body, and it's just going to have you trouble falling asleep. Okay, and so when we look at the Western nutrition lifestyle approach, I want to say there's melatonin boosting foods. I am very much not for melatonin supplements because they can have you dependent on them, and melatonin is really just produced through getting enough sunlight in the day and then getting enough darkness at night. But if we look at foods to help with this, and this is in small amounts, but cherries, walnuts, kiwi, if we have cashews as well, those can help. But big thing is you want to have the room as dark as possible. I personally sleep with an eye mask. I now have blackout curtains, and it makes a big difference. And then I have the AC on or the windows open. I need coolness. I'm sure if you are listening to this, you're in perimenopause, you also want coolness as well. We also want to support magnesium and calcium rich foods, so almonds, dark leafy greens, sesame seeds as well. But again, I highly recommend the supplement there. And then some herbal teas at night. Chamomile, valerian root, passion flower, they can help with that deep sleep. But I definitely want to say that yin nourishing foods on the Chinese medicine approach, so pears, especially if they're stewed and cooked, mung beans can help with clearing some of those hot feelings you might have if you're getting hot at night. Millet is another one. I know this one's a little bit different, but lotus seeds as well. But honey and some of those foods I mentioned earlier can really start to help build that nourishment, that fluid, that moisture that will help you sleep. And I would like to share that there is some Chinese herbal formulas that are specifically designed for conditions like this. If you are interested in that, we can have a one-on-one consult where we can look at some formulas for you as well. And of course, acupuncture, acupressure. I'm not sure, again, how effective acupressure can be in this way, but it's definitely worth trying. But acupuncture, which is, if you are listening to this, I am in school currently, and if you're listening to this 2 years later, then I will be a fully licensed acupuncturist. So I'd love to support you there. So you can also get some acupuncture somewhere local as well in the meantime. Then we also have vaginal dryness. Again, some of this will be repeat concepts, but we want to look at omega-3s here. Omega-3s will provide that moisture. Again, I do recommend a good quality supplement. Fatty fish, also chia seeds, flax seeds, walnuts, vitamin E coming from avocados, sunflower seeds especially. It will help improve that vaginal tissue, and that can again come from declined levels of estrogen. And I do have a podcast episode all about this and vaginal dryness with a client of mine who is actually in her 20s, and then also with a naturopath talking all about perimenopause there as well. But from a Chinese medicine perspective, black sesame seeds again, snow fungus, goji berries, bone broth. I know I've mentioned bone broth a few times. One other item here that I would like to say that's not food related, But I did interview this beautiful naturopath over in Ontario, and she has created a product that is all natural and that supports vaginal moisture and pH balance. It is a fantastic product. It is essentially, there is a moisturizer, there is a lube, and it can greatly improve the quality of life, being able to wear jeans again, getting back on the Peloton or the bike. I do encourage you to check it out. I will leave the link below, and I am a very proud affiliate, and you can get a discount when you use my code as well, which will be below. And I, again, highly recommend it. Great product and great gift idea as well. Then we have managing heavy periods. So I don't know about you, but I was never taught to replenish my body after having a period, especially if they are heavy, no matter what. But really, so we want to look at iron-rich foods. So this is grass-fed beef, this is spinach, lentils, pumpkin seeds, nettle tea. I am not crazy about iron supplementation because it can constipation and really hurt the stomach over time. I'm really more interested in why the body is not absorbing iron as it should be, what's going on there. Usually related to stomach acid, but I do have a whole supplement, or I do have a whole podcast episode on that as well. Big thing is that I love is the TCM approach. So looking at dates, red meat, black beans, dark leafy greens, goji berries, and really looking at actually a herbal formula as well. I do want you to make sure that you are avoiding too many raw and cold foods, keeping your abdomen warm, keeping your feet warm, drinking enough water here as well, and having adequate stomach acid. Okay, that one's going to be big. Mood support. So looking at depression, irritability, anxiety. I will say having some kind of tea to support the liver, such as a chamomile rose. I love that. And I always add goji berries in there. That is going to help any bit of that spiky, kind of hairy feeling when it comes to mood. But again, I want to note this concept in Chinese medicine called the second spring. So it's really looking at essentially, again, a renaissance of who you are becoming at this stage of life, who you have your reproductive years where you do care more about what people think, and you are concerned about mating and, starting a family or not, and you what career you're into, and the whole coming of age part is now the confusion of that has subsided, and now it's looking at, okay, it's the second version of that. Is who do you want to become now? Do you need to make any shifts in career, in your location, in family dynamics, in your style, and how you take care of yourself? And so this is an exciting time to start to reinvent yourself and start slowly. And I do recommend just having a piece of paper and pen and saying, who is the version of you that you're becoming? What is that vision that you have for yourself? How do you want to make your 80-year-old self proud? What are some ways that you can invest more in yourself? And that could be in a nutritionist, an acupuncturist, a personal trainer, getting doing a whole course, going back to school. And, I will say a lot of time, from my observation, it is just spending a little bit more time on the self and more on beauty. And I'm not talking about societal aspects of beauty. I'm talking about adorning yourself with, perfume, going on a perfume hunt. What are some perfumes that you enjoy? How do you want to smell? And if, that's not it for you, then what shades look really good on you when it comes to blush or lipstick or eyeshadow? Can you spend 5 extra minutes in the morning to put on a very pretty a new blush that you get? It doesn't have to be high end, or it could be an earring. Spending a little bit more time on you is going to be the best investment you can ever have. And one thing is, I find interesting with declining levels of estrogen is that we end up caring less about what other people think. Right? And so hopefully that you have a little bit more fire in your belly from that as well. And it's not too late. Let me say that. Okay, and so when it comes to, so that's the mindset, which is going to be more important than anything else. But again, we have talked about those omega-3s, those B vitamins, magnesium, adaptogens. Those are going to be absolutely key as well. Then from a TCM approach, liver qi moving foods. So citrus fruit, ginger, turmeric, peppermint. It's interesting, a little bit of red wine can help with that as well. A little bit, okay? So that's going to be important, but also some more like rigorous workouts as well. So like a run, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, something like that can also help move liver qi. And so a concept in Chinese medicine is when liver qi is stagnated, that's when we start to have breast tenderness, frequent sighing, or irritable, our periods are irregular, okay? And then, of course, there are some formulas as well that I recommend. And if you are feeling hot, just like overwhelmed, irritable, chrysanthemum tea can be fantastic. And I usually don't like to say anything I don't practice myself, but in this case, I'm going to be a hypocrite. Avoiding spicy foods, okay? I love spicy food. I feel like everything tastes so much better when it's hot, spicy, which might be to my detriment as I'm in my 40s, but we'll work on that. And then the last few pieces here is, again, that exercise and movement for hormonal health. I highly recommend, if you are not weight training, again, even if it's twice a week, strength training. Okay, that's going to be absolutely key for preventing muscle loss, supporting metabolism. It will change the way you look. It's also really important for bone density. Again, yoga, qigong, tai chi reduces stress, supporting circulation. And one thing that I have fully embraced is walking and light cardio. I used to do very, very intense workouts, and I might do that again sometime, but I have actually liked how I look the most and feel the most walking and light cardio, though running has its place as well, and so does high intensity. Then we also have pelvic floor exercises, which is actually going to be something that I would like to have an expert talk about on the podcast, because that's not something I'm super well versed in and I think would be really, really helpful. So let me know if you want to hear about that. And I want to know if Kegels are still relevant, but I know squats can be as well. Now, we have some Western supplements. Again, I want to summarize: omega-3 fatty acids and magnesium, vitamin D. B vitamins are not always necessary if you do get it through food, but some people do feel so much better when they do get some B vitamins. And then there are some naturopathic supplements that I cannot speak to in terms of effectiveness. I was on this menopause and perimenopause intensive, and there were some conflicting results on if Vitex and Black Cohosh actually work. And I'm really just about things that actually work. So if they work for you, however, that is really, really important. And some research shows that soy isoflavones can or may help reduce hot flashes as well. Then the big thing I can confidently talk about is for sure those TCM formulas. So if you are listening to this, send me a message, send me an email, and let's see if one of them is right for you. So the big thing is, when it comes to holistic lifestyle recommendations, there is a time and place for medicine. And it is really, really important that we, on a day-to-day basis, really master our nutrition as much as possible and just start to have more of the good things. Okay, and it's not about not having your favorite chips or not having cookies, whatever it is, or just adding more of the good. And so, and that community and social connection, whether it's a support group, it's a networking group, that's also really big, because as we age, we start to notice the nature of a lot of people, and our needs change, our values might change, or values might get stronger. And so you might end up meeting some new people and needing to meet some new people as well. And that's also really important, but also having body work, whether it's osteopath, it's craniosacral, it's a massage, it's acupuncture, it's physio, it's chiro. I do highly recommend investing in yourself. And, I know a lot of you listening do have some benefits to use as well. So, big conclusion here is that personalized approach is always going to be key. So, symptoms will vary. You might experiment with what works best for you. I do, again, working with someone who can look at your blood work, who can coach you, hold you accountable, have some recommendations that you might not have heard from your doctor. And I always am such a big proponent of integrating both Western and Chinese medicine strategies for a true integrative approach. And make sure you monitor your symptoms, adjust, have fun with it, enjoy this very special second spring of your life. I am cheering you on. If you have any questions, please do let me know. I hope this was valuable, and I'll see you next time.